I'm Johannes Eckerström, and you lucky bastard, you are not. But you know what's even better? Lucky you, you're here, getting to enjoy loud TV.
So you played last time with Maiden. It was in July in Paris?
Yeah, exactly.
Was it one of the biggest show and maybe in Paris? And
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, because isn't that even Europe's biggest indoors arena for sports or something like that? Like it's uniquely big, and we did 2 shows in it. So yeah, there was a lot of French people over those 2 days, which I like. I really like this city. Like I've gone here and I've been going here also in my free time, so to speak. So I'm always a bit giddy when I get to go to Paris.
So you know the neighborhood?
A bit, you know, at least the touristy areas I know pretty well.
Okay.
I'm going around a lot. I think the metro system here is great. I mean, Olivier drove me from the train station, which seemed like insanity, but the metro, fantastic.
I was wondering about the new record. Where did you record this album?
Castle Studios in Röhrsdorf, outside of Dresden in Germany. We did Feathers and Flesh there, which is, what is it now, 9 years ago or 10 years ago we were there recording. And then it was just last year that when we did our festival touring, that we had days off in the area, so we were, hey, can we come and see you guys? Because it's a studio, but it's also kind of like people live there. There's this ambition to have an artist collective there, and that people can stay and live there. And as such, so we came there and, you know, cooked and grilled and hung out for a day. And as we were there, and as I had played this piano version of Tower on tour, we're like, we should record that version. So we did it kind of spontaneously that day, the one that we then put out. And as we did that, we kind of vibed again with what we liked with recording there to begin with. And we did the one in the past was with Sylvia Massey producing. So now this time we wanted to bring Jay. So it's a bit of a return, but also a little bit different.
Yeah. What did you try to improve on this one compared to?
Well, it's not so much about improving as it is about changing. I mean, there's a part of the whole process for us that is, no matter how good we feel about an album, when you do the next one, you kind of go, you know what we did wrong? And usually the thing we did right on an album is that then if we feel really good about it and we feel we nailed it, that becomes then the wrong thing to do. And Dance Devil Dance, musically speaking, it was very much built around the idea that heavy metal is rock and roll. Rock and roll is dance music. And that functionality of movement in the songs, which means the rock and roll means don't bore us, get to the chorus, play the riff, sing a little, and then boom, get going, you know, get to the point. So there was a directness to a lot of the songs for that reason, and that was great. But because that was great, that became boring when it's time for the next album. So there's way more a more intuitive trip with Don't Go in the Forest. There is that how do you say it? Well, there's a term, you say trust the process when you work on something. And this time that in my head turned into trust what's beautiful, because in the past I was in a hurry to figure out what I was doing with a song very early on, especially talking the lyrics now, but also the big picture things, that there's an abstract part of when you get ideas, the beginning, the subconscious part of where you kind of dive down in a dark lake and you look at the mud and you find something exciting, so you swim up and go to the shore and look at it and you're like, what is this? What does it mean? What can this become? And that translating into songwriting, that can be that you have like pop in your head one lyric or one little thing on the guitar, and immediately, oh, what is this? What should I do? What should I do? But this time I stayed in the water longer and didn't ask, what is this? I just like, well, it's something, let's see where it takes me. And that meant, so a lot of the lyrics would be more based in dreams or something more intuitive. There's a more surreal factor to it. And at the end, it all comes together, you know. It started making sense once it finishes up. And I got to that point more by itself, but it still stylistically means that the songs got to be more things than just dance music, that allowed for more of those tempo shifts and twists and turns and a different kind of journey between different grooves, and also that lyrically it can go deeper in a way in terms of just what images you try to paint, what emotions you try to evoke. So it's almost, I mean, it's not a prog metal album, but it's a more progressive side to how to interact with your ideas.
When you dream, do you remember your dreams, and do you write like Freud did in the time? You know, he wrote everything about his dreams.
I remember some dreams, and sometimes for good reasons, because I mean, I don't believe that dreams in and of itself means much. I mean, they are, you know, the brain on autopilot when everything resets ultimately, you know, and but sometimes you know, when life is intense, that something really tough is going on, I can tell that, you know, then a dream about whatever conflict is going on infects the dreams, sure. So in that way they reflect reality. But then I'm more into maybe what they evoke, what I think about them when I'm awake. And that gives meaning, and that in itself worth exploring. And when they are really vivid, that of course happened more the younger I was, but can sometimes still happen, especially when I finally get to sleep 8 hours for once. The dreams get more intense. And for instance, what's this song called? Take My Heart and Burn It on this album. That's one of the dream songs. And I remember, because it's a dream, of course I was able to fly, because that's what you can do that in dreams. And it was kind of this tropical island, or you're in Caribbean, I guess, with a lagoon. And in the shallow, crystal clear water, I fly over it on the way to this island, and there are pilots, people in pilot suits, like military pilots, so this kind of overall thing, that have drowned, 3 bodies under the water. And this island is a dangerous place, and a hidden away place that people try to either escape from or get to. It's not super clear. And I arrive, and there's all these people running around there naked. And there was a point that one of the people running around is a woman who has tan lines, like from a bikini. And that was just a point like you're new here. Because that gave away her secret in a way, that because everybody else has an even tan because they've been there forever in that freedom. And I guess that's the thing, that maybe it was something about this forbidden place that liberates you or whatever. And then I kept going from there, and I don't know, my father always complains that the most boring thing you can tell a person is about their dreams. Then he would say that, and then he would tell us about the dream he had. So I don't know, we're all hypocrites.
Imagination is without limits, right?
Yes, exactly, and especially your subconscious is, and it makes me think about, you know, now I'm a bit, like we all are, a bit addicted to our headphones and getting some input from something. If not listening to music, you listen to podcasts or whatever. There's always something going on, and it's nice to sometimes remember to just and start listening to the inside instead of what's come from the outside. And it's become so rare, I think, not just for me, but for all of us, to do that. That remember, you can usually keep your headphones on the airplane when you land, they don't care. But one stewardess, she really cared that you cannot have your Bluetooth on when we are landing. So then I had to take them off and look out the window for 20 minutes. And when I landed, it's like, that was amazing! Because all the places my brain had to go, or had the opportunity to go, because I wasn't, you know, listening to a podcast about professional wrestling from the 80s, you know, and suddenly this whole inner landscape opened up. And I think the dream thing and the subconscious thing of this album was a way to rekindle with that.
I feel each song is quite different.
Yeah.
An Avatar album is like a box of chocolates, right?
Yeah.
You know this man?
Yeah, Forrest Gump. Yeah.
You never know what you're going
Yeah.
to get, and I feel you never know what to get.
No, and neither do we when we start. Because there's like, I bring my mindset and my thoughts and my weird dream and everything to the table. But so here's the thing. Jay Rustin, our producer, when working with us, says that we are the most democratic band he has ever worked with. Everybody gets to touch everything and mess with everything, and we listen to each other. And in a more traditional setting, you would call three of us the songwriters of the band, but we don't work like that. So I think we are the three song starters. But then immediately when we start showing each other ideas, all five start touching and adding and changing and stuff. And I mean, for instance, so Tim does Colossus, basically, at the beginning of it back then. And I start doing vocals, but suddenly Hendrik comes into the room. Hey, I got a melody for you to sing for the pre-chorus, and that's dunk. So everybody, it's a constant jam that happens between us. And that means that whatever I got on my mind, that what my album would be, that gets all that mixed and shuffled up to this collective trip, right? Where we all have different roles to play. So already there, all kinds of influences and ideas. And then it's this mantra with Avatar, never write the same song twice. Which, to some degree, it's always going to be a metal album when it's Avatar. And it's always gonna, it's always us writing it and us playing it. So there are some natural limitations because it's all based on our abilities and our sensibilities. But beyond that, we try to surprise ourselves and never try to make a song that feels like a lesser version of what we have done in the past. So we force ourselves to move forward. You also want to learn something every time, not just on this kind of emotional, personal level through the lyrics and everything, but also on a very direct musician's level. I want to do something I haven't quite tried before as a performer and as a writer. I want that the recording, that is something different about it each time, and we all look for those things. So we look for the change and to make sure that it reflects who we are now and not who we were 10 years ago, and so this album could only be done now, and we didn't have the skills or the mindset to make this album in the past. And now then we're going to move away from this and make something else that would have been impossible for us to do today.
And so the limits of what is an Avatar song are very,
Yeah, very wide. It's very open-ended. I mean, again, we will never do a reggae album or a jazz album, and we like reggae and jazz. But genre-wise, and it's always going to be based in, my go-to example for bands that at the core of it, it's all Beatles and Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath is making a riff, nailing the groove, and have that makes the universe open up through the song, and you start to see images, it creates an atmosphere, and that informs the songwriting and what kind of song it ends up being. That feels like a Black Sabbath thing to me. And then the Beatles thing of, that they were setting the standard of being your own songwriting team and being also a band that always would learn something new. And as soon as you learned that new thing, you wanted to try it in a song. On the White Album, I think it's Dear Prudence and Blackbird and something else is kind of that someone showed them a way of finger picking, or there's some story like that, and they all, oh cool, then I can do this, and you write a song from it. And that mindset and trusting that it will always sound like us, because Beatles always sounded like the Beatles, Please Please Me sounds like the Beatles, Come Together sounds like the Beatles, because it's them, and so we haven't never decided what is the Avatar sound, we mostly tune our guitars now in B standard, but sometimes it has to be A standard or drop A or open tuning, whatever the song needs to be. And we use the amps. That seems like the best idea at the time. And like that, the sound, that is not the secret to the sound. The secret to the sound is that we don't have enough talent to sound like not ourselves.
Did you throw a lot of ideas, or did you, I would say, we work on it?
No, a lot of things get thrown out along the way. It was only really with Hunter Gatherer where we set the goal that we wanted to finish many songs and then choose, because we always heard about that way of working. So we tried it then, and it was cool. But usually there's a more natural, you write it as far as you can, and at some point, fuck it, throw it. Like if you're able to finish the song, says something about the quality of the song at the time. And also those songs that get thrown out never get truly thrown out. And on this album, the title track, So Don't Go in the Forest, starts with a couple of old great ideas that didn't find a home at the time. Because Tim wrote something that then got the chorus. Don't go, no, 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 no. That was a thing. But the rest of the song never quite, especially in the lyrics, never quite nailed it. And Jonas had forever this ding, ding, he had that riff forever. But that was suffering from, again, talking Black Sabbath, the riff with a groove, and the groove makes the riff. And the drums were never quite right on that one, but that started to happen. So he came one day and just played, I got something new, and hits play, and it's like, oh, is that riff? But it started on bass first, and then that made it super exciting. And then the drums finally helped open up the riff in a way it hadn't before, and we started to refine that. And then he had paired that with some other ideas and that chorus from the past. So all those things had been thrown out or put aside at some point until they mature and find that home. We do that a lot. I mean, the song Gun, the little piano song I had together, that was 7 years it took to write that song. Not every day, but off and on, and trying to figuring out what it needed to be before it became a very simple thing. And some songs take 7 minutes to write, some songs take 7 years. Yeah, I would say that Captain Goat, that didn't take 7 minutes, but once Tim had showed us those ideas, a lot of it was very obvious, and I was able to write the vocals came very quickly on top of what he had done. And that was also, again, one of those intuition songs, like, I don't know what this means, because I really started with it really came from that kind of chanty place and groove into a more solid song, and the lyrics came very from deep within, and didn't think about what it meant until I looked at it afterwards, like, Satan. I thought we were done, but here we are, because Dance Devil Dance was all about that, and then this is kind of Captain Goat. There's always one song that is the bridge from the last thing we did, and the bridge is over to the current thing, and I think Captain Goat, at least lyrically, kind of did that.
Is there a link between all the songs?
Between all the songs on this one? No, yes, in an organic sense, because we made it in this period of our lives. And so everything gets shaped by certain life events and whatever turns us on at the moment. And so this intuitive subconsciousness aspect links many of them together. And a somewhat surreal quality, at least in my mind, to what it does, and musically, the link between, for me, vocally, it's the most melodic album, I think, in terms of when I do death metal on this album, it's precious and rare and valuable. So much so that when I finally did those parts in the studio, it's like, I want to be in a death metal band, this rules. But there was more emphasis on exploring a richer dynamic in the quote-unquote clean vocals, that I now start to have the confidence to really delve deeper into, where it can go on a journey where, because in the past, the idea that it's heavy metal because I sweat a lot when I sing it. But then you listen to Judas Priest, and yeah, he sweats a lot when he does Painkiller. But then you have the more dynamic journeys where you rely more on the drive of the song and breaking the law, where it's a dynamic range within it. And I started do more of that. So there are lots of kind of overarching things because we did it here and now. But it doesn't have the concept in the way that Danceable Dance wasn't a concept album either, but there we had a plan in the beginning. And with this one we had a plan at the end. And it kind of bounces back and forth, those ways of working, each and every album.
So the forest is also subconscious and...
Yeah, it's that, but it's also... there's a weird thing about metal, right? Where lyrically and thematically it can be war and violence and death and loss and tortured souls. But metal is also a mosh pit, a good time. It's exciting, a lot of excitement and strength and power. And so that weird thing happens, like you go see Metallica and you raise your fist and sing along, and here we fucking go, while they sing a song about a man stuck in a bed with no arms and no legs and no means of communication who just wants to die. And somehow that works, somehow that comes together, and that is that weird edge that heavy metal music is balancing on. And the idea with then Don't Go in the Forest is, it's a warning, right? But if you are the kind of weird kid that grew up and discovered heavy metal, there's a chance that you that when you hear the warning, you want to say, hell yeah, I'm going in the forest. So you want to taste that forbidden fruit and explore the dark. And there's kind of an aesthetic idea also with it. You know, you got big on David Lynch, right? And Twin Peaks, you have that, you have out in the forest, in the woods, is the entry to the Black Lodge. And our version idea of that kind of aesthetic and vibe would be the image of that you are out in the forest, in the cold, in the dark, alone with your fears, and between the trees over there, there's a strange light, and there's music, and you go closer, and there's a meadow, and there's this circus tent that shouldn't be there, but it is, that lights up in the dark, and that's Avatar, that's the world of Avatar. And that whole thing of how metal finds this, you know, you process those forbidden thoughts, those forbidden feelings, you know, it's almost like a thing on it and deal with it, and through that find healing and growth, and then you know, can live a more fulfilling life. And a lot of metal, you know, is dealing with your angers and your sorrows and whatnot. And again, then we stand there saying, fuck yeah, while doing that.
Michael from Dr. Oncology told me that he likes to write when he's angry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
I have to think. I don't think I've done too much of that through the 30 years. Or I mean, well, okay, so I'm so tired of everything that has to do with Marvel. And I think somehow the Marvel movies, we can somehow blame what's wrong in the States right now on them. I'm not sure exactly how, but there's a weird connection of too many grown-ups walking around with superhero merchandise. That being said, I love the quote of the Hulk in that first Avenger movie, "That's my secret, I'm always angry." So I think I might, okay, at a heightened emotional state, I might write down a blurb, but then to actually work out this song goes in a more calmer state, a more, what's they say, searching your inner, introspective mindset, what to actually put the song together. So not quite that I'm upset and take the paper and, you know, that happens, but then I still have to turn into a song that works. That happens after, I think.
Okay, last question. You're going to play Zenith in Paris and many more stages in Europe.
And hopefully people show up. Knock on wood. Is that wood?
Yeah.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
Knock on wood. Maybe will you? I'm pretty sure that you will improve maybe the visuals on stage.
Yeah.
And
they sent me pictures from what they are building now. Holy shit! Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is what we do, theatrical stuff, and then we try to innovate and come up with the next level, or, you know, and also there's the thing of just having more stuff, and there's definitely more stuff. and more advanced technically what the light show can do and everything. But then there's also we have gotten better at like maybe thinking thematically of the show at large, what things should happen. I know we kind of, two words we were comparing with different types of shows. You get the shows that are erotic and the shows that are pornographic. Now translated to a metal context. But you know, when you play the fast song first and everything explodes and you fire the pyro and stuff and in your face all the time, that becomes a pornographic, instant gratification, trigger, you know, those notes in you to get someone going. But then around that time for Hunt to Gather, for instance, those shows were more erotic. I kept my clothes on, but in the sense that it's more suggestive and it builds over time and creates a way more deeper enjoyment and connection that is an attachment to it, an interhuman thing, that because that show started relatively small, so we could build and build and build and build and build. So that's more, you know, better lovemaking. And now it's and to just compose that roller coaster over time, that kind of more advanced thinking has come over time to deal with and do the shows.
If you do a wall of death, maybe porno against erotic?
I think wall of death is always quite porno. Well, no, here's the thing. If you make the wall of death happen early in the show, then it's kind of pornographic. Like, okay, let's go, bang, bang, bang. We're gonna do this now, huh? You know, almost mechanical. But if you build a show where people's ecstasy gets to grow and grow over time, then a later show, wall of death, has more the qualities of lovemaking and a more climatic part. It feels very fitting to talk about this in France. Yeah, I feel like you get it. If other countries, people like, you know,
this is the city of love.
Yeah, no, but I also feel like, you know, French people understand to speak in parallels between you know, the more sensual things, or also, well, you and Italians, you can always talk about, it's kind of like food, you know, and kind of, because it's also composing a meal. There's also that, you know, when the avec at the end after the dessert and how you're there for, and that means that you played Hail the Apocalypse last because you put a bit of something in the coffee, you know. So it's good. French people understand parallels.
Thank you.